Massimino wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix. James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win number 1 in OKN Stars.
On track or off, Brandon Jarsekrak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarsekrak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarsekrakRacing.com.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Hey guys, I'm Chris G. I'm Kart Chaser's driver fitness coach, and today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to strengthen your shoulders for more endurance and better stability in the kart. Here we go. Okay, so exercise number 1 is the front rope pull-through cable raises. Okay, now this is the upright cable row. What you are doing here is you're picking a straight bar, as you see, and we're working the side areas of our shoulders, the medial. Exercise number 3, the dumbbell shrugs. As you guys can tell, I like to pause at the top before releasing. It's great for your strength, for that wheel stability. It's great for those shoulders and that upper back area. Chris G coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do here. See you on the next one.
Legacies aren't built overnight. They're built 1 second at a time. Never taking a lap off, and always pushing the limits. K1, helping you build your legacy from the beginning.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter, I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson threw on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
The day is ours and we seize it. Haters, man, they got reasons. Grab the moment, we freeze it. Go to the touch, oh what a rush. Follow your heart, homie, go where the love. Let it rain, let it flow, let it flood. Swimming in good vibrations, it's a celebration. It's the liberation of everything we are. Every time you in the clouds, they gon' try to bring you down. Do not let them try, go ahead and get it, get it, get it, get it.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspect with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel?
From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
Well, for those of you here in the paddock, for those of you watching live from home, welcome to the Spring Mountain Motor Resort and Country Club. We're right here at the Spring Mountain Karting Complex for round number 5 of the Champions of the Future America Series. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Alongside me this weekend, Dean Helt, and down on pit lane, as we've seen him all year round, Jackson Lambros, bringing you guys all the trackside coverage. And this is a place where we're visiting for the first time on our platform, but a place that is no stranger to the biggest stage in karting, Las Vegas, Nevada specifically. You talk about the history of this place, Dean, the history of the state of Nevada and Las Vegas. It's you know, synonymous with karting pretty much. And this track here, the Spring Mountain Karting Complex, is a little bit of an homage, if you will. The high-speed north configuration is a direct homage to the beloved X-Plex track, often known and often referred to as the Rock Pile, where the first ever Las Vegas Super Nationals took place. But like always, it's a pleasure to be here at this beautiful facility for the first time in our coverage, and for the first time the Champions of the Future America Series ventures outside a K1 circuit over in Winchester, California, and here trackside at the Spring Mountain Karting Complex. Dean,
super proud to have this series come over the mountains in California to the wonderful state of Nevada. Just a little bit outside of Las Vegas, over the Spring Mountains, we find the Spring Mountain Karting Complex, and what a complex it is. This is the place where, for many years over at the Speedway, there was a very old kart track that unfortunately went under. This was the place of dreams for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. You know, the organizers of that series planned for a dream location like this, and I will say, very impressed. I was here 2 years ago for the Super Karts USA California Pro Kart Challenge, and it's come a long way since then. Many beautiful additions to the racetrack, and I'm sure these drivers will be finding it very exhausting, to say the least, as this is one of the most technical tracks I think that we've ever seen on the West Coast here in the United States.
yeah, this is, again, a place that you're familiar with, right? You are a Las Vegas local yourself. You've driven this place, and, you know, we spent a lot of the day yesterday as to this new challenge that a lot of drivers are going to be facing for the first time in this series, but a lot of them, you know, locals maybe to California, the West Coast. This is a track that's really promoted that boom, if you will, in West Coast karting. Look, we talked about Colorado and the track out there. We talked about Winchester, California opening up and getting operational. Willow Springs as well just redid their karting track. And this here at the Spring Mountain Karting Complex, I mean, this is a great way to add to that, to continue to build and give a different venue for West Coast drivers to come out here and take part. And, you know, what better place to do it? Look, talk about this racetrack here, because it is very long. 19 corners here, very high speed, and a very technical layout here this weekend.
I did some races at the end of 2024. I made a little return to karting and some shifter karts, and I felt pretty good at the end of that year. Then 2024, I came here for the Super Karts USA PKC event here, and we were only doing the half layout, and by the end of that weekend, I was pretty well wore out. So hopefully for these kiddos, especially the bigger kiddos coming on later today, this track is not only very demanding of your driving capabilities, but also physically, are you prepared? How's the neck? How's the core? Do you have the upper body strength to not only make it through just today, but also the big events with the super heat and the big final on at the end of the day on Sunday?
Look, they always talk about training, getting yourself kart fit, and again, one of our sponsors, Chris G Coaching, is a big testament to that. What a better way, right, than to prepare yourself for a racetrack that's as physical as the Spring Mountain Karting Complex, than getting yourself up and ready with that, right? And I'm sure we'll see Chris G throughout our broadcast as well once we hit the commercial breaks. But that being said, we are into qualifying action. The warm-up already done and dusted, out of the way here this morning, and they have had a lot of track time. You talk about Wednesday, there was drivers out here driving. Thursday, they were out there on the racetrack as well, doing the last little bits of prep before we got into official sessions, which took place yesterday, where the Champions of the Future staff took over this gorgeous complex. And again, they had a good number of sessions, a good number of track time, and today you only get one warm-up session, and already with the minis and the mini U10s that, as we've seen throughout the year, combined all together, are getting ready to put in some fast laps. First couple laps, again, you see the lap time here is quite long, if you will here, Dean, just over the minute mark.
Still pretty quick, though, for how big the circuit is and for how tiny these little go-karts are. These kiddos are ripping around this circuit. I would be surprised to see somebody break that 121 second barrier. It was the 205 of Maddox Carlucci that was fastest in warm-up, and it seems like he's carrying on as business as usual as we've hit the 3-minute mark left in this mini qualifying.
Yeah, this one 3 minutes to go. Why don't we head down to Jackson Lambros, who's standing by trackside.
Yeah, good morning, gents. Just a quick update on how this complex is feeling for the guys so far this morning. A lot of grip on offer, so much so that I think it's been a little bit of a headache for a lot of these guys trying to maybe free up the chassis a little bit to get some rotation in and of course, that's a far cry from the motor dependency that we've seen at Winchester. We were treated to some phenomenal weather yesterday, Caleb, during the tire challenge. We are not going to be treated to the same this weekend. Dean was showing me the weather app this morning. Should be well into the 90s, high 80s, low 90s throughout the remainder of this weekend. So some high grip in some scenarios with how much of this Presa rubber's already been laid down, but potentially some other difficulties here with the weather on track.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sir Jackson. And a very good point to that as well, right? This place has laid down a huge amount of rubber. You look at turn number 1, Dean, it is completely blackened with how much rubber has been laid down. These Presa tires, as we've seen throughout the year, it's been something to navigate. And for these youngsters as well, right? Apart from other national series here stateside where you see the same kind of width of tire on the rear and the front, the tires here are different, right? It's something different to navigate because those rear tires are, again, that little bit wider, that standard, if you will, tire that we see throughout cadet ranks, but the front tire a lot slimmer, which changes the handling of karts, taking caster out, doing a lot of different things to get these karts to rotate throughout the corner, to turn in, and to get the perfect arc into the majority of these corners. Turn number 1 is one of the biggest important factors here, Dean, as you take us through this lap.
Yeah, turn 1, very banked corner. Probably my favorite corner, very similar to Rocky Moran, but not quite, as it's a little bit more flat. Now into turn 3, we heard some of these drivers were taking this flat out yesterday as we're following the 204 of Tavi here through the long sweeping right. This is the beginning of the X-Plex complex into turn 4, now making into the hairpin of turn 5. I believe the slowest corner on the racetrack through turn 6 now, a very, very sharp left-hander using all the runoff on the outside. Everything that's paved, you can go ahead and use at your free will through 7, now into 8 as well, as we're going to go ahead and switch to the 165. No, we're back to the 204 as we head into tricky turn 9, one of the 2 braking zones on this racetrack through turn 10, I believe, as well. And that's only just half of the lap. Then you got the whole S's on the backside to go.
Yeah, that's half of the lap, and again, that straightaway back there is definitely one to try and navigate, right? We talked about how important the last couple corners are. Turn 14 is important. Talking to a lot of drivers, if you're a kart width outside of the racing line, that's going to hinder your lap for the majority of it, and as well the run onto the front stretch. But that being said, at the top of the timing charts is currently Maddox Carlucci in the 205. He's quicker than everybody else. Bazanski's right behind him, then a Benjamin Tavi, then Apostle, who's right there, but they're working their way through. Looks like they will maybe get another lap in. It's going to be close for these young drivers, and I think everybody except for Benjamin Tavi is going to get an extra lap. So Tavi up to 3rd. His qualifying session is going to be done and dusted. Freitas Mello is going to have one more. Is not going to have another lap, I should say. He's got the checkered flag. Vettel Baker's down in 12th. The kid out of the Dallas Metroplex joining us here this weekend over with Precision Works. That being said, last couple laps, and the driver up at the top of the timing charts is indeed the 205 of Maddox Carlucci as we follow along for his final lap in the 217. That's right behind him. That looks to be Stringer. The driver was looking to put in one more lap on the Italic Corsa machine.
But pretty impressive, over 19 corners. If you're only a half-tenth off, let's say you're losing just that little itty-bitty bit, by the end of the lap, you're looking at gaps like this where you've got Carlucci having almost over a half a second between himself and P3. So a very impressive lap for these youngsters, but I'm sure maybe some of these teams missing it a little bit on the setup. There is a very, very small notebook for a lot of these drivers based out of Southern California here, so maybe some fine-tuning needed, but I'm sure things will tighten up by the time we get to race time.
Yeah, well, here we go. Maddox Carlucci around the last corner. Bazanski won't improve. He's a 10th and a half back. Here goes Carlucci, first one across the line. He's currently quicker than everybody else, and it's going to hold. Maddox Carlucci, your pole sitter in Mini and Mini U10. Bazanski in second, Tavi, then Apostle, Kendall West. Again, another good result for the young lady here. She's going to be inside of the top 5. Bugulescu, Matajazic in 7th. Stringer, Sinvaratni, Floys, Freitas Mello, Baker, Pascucci, Donahue, and Freckleton. Your 15 drivers taking part here in Mini and Mini U10. More action getting set to come your way. That was the first of the qualifying sessions. 3 classes to go. KA Junior is coming up next. 21 total KA juniors getting ready to qualify here at the 5th round of the Champions of the Future Americas Series, but they have all been led by one. The HRT, the Hainer Racing Team, driver Sebastian Hauser, currently in the lead of the championship here this weekend, Dean. And he has had a great string of results over the past couple rounds. You talk about maximizing opportunities. You talk about maximizing races and getting those victories. And again, it hasn't been easy to come by them. But he made it sound easy yesterday when we spoke to him.
Yeah, still thinking just on a race-by-race basis, not thinking too big picture just yet, but obviously a very, very healthy points lead. And looks to be really, really quick, was I believe. He wasn't inside the top 5 in the warm, but still very, very close amongst all of these junior drivers. I would fully expect here in this qualifying session that we'll see the 307 comfortably inside the top 3 steps of the podium.
And that's the biggest thing, right? We were there yesterday talking about we're just talking about championship, talking about this racetrack with his team owner, Mr. Hainer, and as well with Sebastian and Henry Escalette, who's also racing this weekend. And a lot of them, we're talking about some of the nuances, some of the differences of this place. They have been here before, but again, it changes week after week. We talk about track development, anywhere else that you go, especially in our discipline of racing. Whenever you get to a racetrack, it's going to be a lot different than what you saw a year ago. You talk about the last time potentially these drivers were here was last year. Whenever you talk about the Pro Kart Challenge over with SCUSA and other events that have probably tried to come here and hold an event. But again, the track was still relatively new. You talk about a year in, the asphalt now setting in, and as well, a different tire compound has been one of the biggest differences for a lot of these drivers to learn, to try and adapt, to try and, make those adjustments, those last little bit of fine-tuning in the chassis and the driving that you need to do. We talked about turn 1 specifically with them, and they said, look, maybe a year ago you had a break because through the corner you maybe had no grip. You felt like the rear was kind of sliding out. And here you're just absolutely glued to the ground. You just have to lift off the throttle a significant amount. No brakes. It overslows you. You just pretty much, I don't know, it's almost like a trampoline. You get thrown out of the corner into the next little chicane that is turn 2. But that being said, look, Sebastian Hauser has been one of the drivers to look out for here in this KA100 junior class. But how can you not talk about the Formula Works GFCs? Tony Saragusa and his operation, they have been great this year in 100cc. Talk about Jake Drew, Keegan Kaminsky on the senior side of things. But in junior, their level has definitely risen. Braden Wagner has been great, phenomenal. One of the younger drivers that's gotten himself into this mix. He's currently down in 12 in the 321. But again, you've done your fair share of talking to some of these guys. Formula Works, they have been one of the teams to beat here at Champions of the Future.
Top of the line always. Anytime that you see Formula Works and the Tony Siragusa crew show up to a venue, they're always one of the guys that you know you're going to have to go through the silver and black anytime they show up. And I will say, I love looking at the 329 here. I believe we'll get a name check on that driver. Troy Ferguson. Look how tiny. Like one of these, it's the beautiful mix of drivers. Some of them already looking maybe next year to senior, but you got guys like Troy Ferguson here kicking butt. Currently P2 on the timing sheets, although there is a massive horde of traffic that he's going to have to work through if he's going to want a clean lap.
Yeah, and again, Troy Ferguson, tiny but mighty. He did win
Absolutely.
The Arrive and Drive World Cup last year at the end of the year, and this is his second year in the junior ranks. We've seen a lot of them, the kid based out of the West Coast. He's one of the ones to watch. Look, you look back to round number 4 in K100 Junior. It wasn't any of these drivers that we've just talked about. It was actually the lone factory karts in the field of Diesel Bazanski, who overall put it on the pole when we were at Winchester, California. The factory kart, he's currently working there with one of the Nash Motorsports machines, the 347 of Simone. Bazanski put it on the overall pole just a month ago when we were over in Winchester, California. Troy Ferguson, Bronson Kustas, Braden Wagner, Nixon Ellsworth, that's how they shook out from second on back to 5th. And then Hauser, the qualifying effort maybe wasn't what he would have wanted. He was 9th overall in the qualifying session back in round number 4, but we've seen, and we talk, how many times do we say this, right, through our in racing period, general. Today, yes, it matters to put yourself in a good position. The day that matters, the day that gives you trophies and the overall points finishes is tomorrow. on Sunday. This, unfortunately, is going to help this group out just a little bit too close for comfort here, Dean.
Some of these drivers are racing like it's Sunday out here, trying to get that oh-so-critical track position. Although I will say we've got the 305, which was one of the fastest karts here in the morning, lined up with Diesel Bizanski. I believe a big lap is going to be coming here. I think everyone's trying to cue themselves. And what a cool token, to be one of those guys that people want to be behind. People want to work with you. And there you go, a little tap at the back of the helmet there from the 305. We'll see if Bizanski looks like he's going to work with them. I would imagine we're about to see a new pole time if these two can knock out a clean lap here with 2 minutes left to go in the session.
Yeah, it's currently Diesel there in the 341 factory karts machine. He's fastest overall. Ferguson is in second. Daniel there in third. Then you go to Braden Wagner, Declan, P5. Aaron Spears, sixth. Hauser. Then to Lewis, Jet, and Sebastian York, top 5. Jet Whipple, that driver there in ninth, 338. Another one of the Formula Works GFCs. That being said, look, a minute and a half. You can't waste too much time. We talked about the laps here. It's a 1:14.9. You pull off on the front straightaway, you're wasting about a third of this session. And again, when you see moves like that, you almost got to hold your breath here, Dean. But it's just a matter of setting in these laps, putting them good, putting yourself in clean air. And as well, if you're out there on your own, you're probably more often than not going to end up like a sitting duck, because this straightaway is massive. It, again, from edge of the property to the other edge of the property, this is, again, a place where you want to be working with somebody and drafting up to somebody. So this is critical right here. Put yourself in a position to set in a good final lap. We'll see how they shake out. Bizanski was waiting the entirety of that lap, and he's not going to improve here.
Surprising to see that. And also, I will say the wind has changed. We had a little bit of a tailwind going into the first corners. This is, wow, once again, the melee here in the mid-pack trying to get some free air, as I believe these drivers will be coming around to the checkered flag this time by one last gasp. But we do have a headwind now going into turn one, which makes that toe all the way down the front straightaway oh so important as these drivers are about halfway through their final laps.
Yeah, well, here we go. This one getting close to the end here. 20 seconds to go left on the clock. And nobody's going to get an extra lap here. This is critical for everybody on screen. There's a 313 of Keegan Ellsworth. He is currently in 11th. And that's, again, just a lot of passing throughout that zone. Hauser looks like he's probably going to get a good draft up to Diesel Bizanski. One driver pulls off to the wayside as we follow along with Ellsworth. And this front pack getting ready to complete this lap. Bizanski still at the top, a 1:14.9, the time to beat. Hauser's been drafting up, as well as a good number of others. This time across the line. Second here.
And I will say, lots of draft, very, very draft heavy, but also making sure that you keep the tires in a perfect window. And some drivers improved there. I believe you had the driver in third place improve at the death, but otherwise that is the end of KA Junior qualifying.
Yeah, Diesel Bizanski back-to-back pole positions heading into the qualifying heats. He's going to put it on the pole for the competition speed motorsports team here this weekend. A dual effort with Asher Bizanski also racing here this weekend in the mini divisions. With that being said, quick commercial break, quick pause from the action here in the mountains of Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll be right back with some more.
Empire Karts, your trusted trackside kart specialist. Proudly supporting champions of the Future America Series, West Coast karting teams, and racers. Empire Karts, your trackside solution.
Welcome.
Diesel Bazanski on the pole position. He's standing by with Jackson Lambros.
We're talking about potentially back-to-back pole positions, but I believe potentially some post-race inspections might have changed that. Regardless, flying pace for you behind the wheel of the factory kart. Talk to me about that session, Diesel.
It was amazing. We were changing setups all weekend. We got the car finally dialed in, so I think we're ready for the racing.
I think a lot of people have been driving this track by Braille this week, trying to figure it out. What has been, for the most part, the biggest challenge for you here at Spring Mountain?
Track positioning. It's track positioning is key. Its draft is worth half a second here, and you got to hit every corner, just prestigious. It's got to be unlimited. You can't make a mistake, so you're losing tenths if you make a little adjustments on the wheel. So you got to keep it perfect.
So potentially a pushback penalty coming your way, but still some phenomenal pace for you. What's the confidence level for you here for the remainder of the weekend?
No, I think I got this dialed in.
Loving it. Congrats, Diesel.
Thank you very much.
KA Senior hits the racetrack now. 28 drivers total here this weekend in the senior division. And again, a very star-studded lineup with the likes of Oliver Keegan Kaminsky. You talk about Jackson Menchun, what he's done. Archer Eversman has been great so far this year. But again, This is really, I could say that I'm surprised here, Dean, but I'm really not. I'm really not surprised to see this. Look, you heard it there from Diesel Bizanski, who, again, provisionally at the moment on the pole position in K Junior, pending post-race inspections and protests, whatever you want to call it. Nonetheless, he said it right. This place, the draft is very, very heavy here, and that can make or break a lap. Whether you have a toe on that front straightaway, and these KA senior drivers, they know that. They realize that, of getting out there, putting in a good lap. That's what's critical for all of them, to come in here and put in a good lap and put themselves in position to do so, right? Which is why you're seeing, if you will, you want to call it gamesmanships, you want to, whatever you want to call it. That's why you see that at the start of this qualifying session.
Yeah, these are the best in the West that we got on hand here this afternoon for KA Senior qualifying. It looks like you don't want to be the one at the head of the train. However, the jeopardy is if you are at the back, 2 or 3, 4 rows back of that leader, you could potentially get overtaken, get caught up in somebody else's mess, and then your qualifying is bupkis. So we have the 416, who was our second fastest driver in the morning warm-up session. I would imagine feeling pretty confident about their karts. The GFC guys always put a great product out on the racetrack, and looking very, very confident in all that free air.
Yeah, Matthew Cagle is one of the rookies in this KA senior class. We've seen him throughout the national stuff. And again, specifically here as well in Champions of the Future, he has really kind of been knocking on the door of that first win in the senior ranks. And he's really the rookie under the tent, right? Jake Drew was down there, spoke to them a little bit, Keegan Kaminsky, and they talk about, the relationship that they've all built with Cagle. And again, the star-studded lineup that they have. Championship points leader, Johnny Stamps, another one of the younger, newer faces that we're seeing at the front of this field. He's been great so far this year, coming into the weekend, leading the championship after 4 rounds over in Winchester, California. But that being said, right, this place has developed a lot, and we're even seeing this track develop as well from the morning compared to now to some of the qualifying times, Dean.
It was a provisional pole time of a 14.9 from Caden Bizanski, as looks like we're going to have a change at the head of this little slipstream trio here in qualifying. But a 14.9 provisional time was faster than what Senior had done in their warm-up, looking like the track has come to life. I would expect already a 14.1 from the 480. That is Mateo Calderon going provisionally P1 already. So maybe even breaking into the 13s, which is about the same time as we saw from our X30 pros in their warm-up session.
Yeah, again, just continuing to improve, continuing to get forward, right? You talk about Diesel almost got a second faster. These drivers already improving. Mateo Calderon's been great. He runs over here with Axis Kart Sport. Aiden Aquino is racing. Archer Eversman, Jackson Menchu, J.D. Drennan, Cameron Perry, Johnny Stamps, Leon Kim, Rylan Cordon, and Max Saga currently your top 10. With Oliver Calvo, it looks like either his transponder isn't working or something has gone terribly wrong for the 484 Calvo development driver who's with Kartnik this weekend. And I'm not sure. I'd be curious to see if Jackson can get anything for us as to what happened with a 484 in this session. That being said, time starting to come in. Still a long qualifying session to go. 3.5. And Mateo Calderon, who we are used to seeing running in the junior ranks whenever we go to the United States Pro Kart Series, to Super Karts USA, around Tucson, usually in X30 Junior and a couple other classes. But here he's running with the big guns, running with the seniors for Mateo. And he's just ahead of this field, but not by much here, Dean.
It is a very, would you expect anything less from KA Senior with this caliber of field? Also, Johnny Stamps and the driver Archer Eversman jumping up to provisional P2 and P3, and still maybe some different tire pressure strategies. Maybe some of the drivers banking on the track, continuing to come to life towards the end of the session. Still about 2 minutes to go. Probably got 2, maybe 3 laps. So some of the guys will be going out a bit lower, trying to get formed up with a couple of their friends to see if they can slipstream their way to a better lap time.
Yeah, we'll take a closer look at it here as we were following along with Talon Brown there for a second. Another one of the Hayner racing team machines, and actually I got that wrong. That being said, though, up front, still shuffling for position, still changing around. As there's Johnny Stamps on your screen. He's currently second in the 412, and this is probably one of the best positions that you want to be in, right? You're not all too close. That's not going to help. at all.
That is the danger.
And another one of the biggest talking points here, right? There isn't AstroTurf like there is at Winchester. There isn't much runoff. If you're off the racetrack, if you drop a tire, you're straight into the gravel. It's complete dirt, complete. I mean, we are in the desert after all. You're in the gravel, and that's going to put dust and debris and rocks onto the racing line onto the racetrack, and that's going to hinder everybody else. So in the case there, Johnny Stamps was, again, one of the ones that was just right behind those drivers that put a tire off. He's the first one to get there, and that ruins his momentum. It ruins his lap. It ruined the driver in front of him's lap as well, which looks to be Kempton, I believe, there. He's just ahead of him, and they're going to have to now pass to try and reposition themselves. But that doesn't help at all, right? When whoever's at the lead of that pack puts a tire wrong, kind of hinders everybody else at the back of it.
The Aero War era of karting, that is the jeopardy. How much do you want to risk? As we got one driver coming in, that is the 413, I believe. We'll go ahead and call it a session as everyone's going to go ahead and get out of the way of Mr. Stamps here at the front of this group. But yeah, very, very critical here for these KA engines to be able to have that slipstream over the course of the track. I mean, we could be talking about over 4/10 just from a toe off of the huge straightaways. I mean, this is a very technical track, but still a very, very high average speed. And as you guys can see, they are absolutely gripping and ripping, but not looking like too many people are improving here at the end of the session. I think, unfortunately, it's praise of tires. All that sticky stuff is probably wore off just a little bit too much.
And that's one of the things, again, just kind of noting here, right, that these laps really aren't improving as we're getting to the back end of this qualifying session. So, look, you look at Calderon, great start to it, but hasn't really even made a dent. They're about a second and a half slower, it looks like, this time around. For some other drivers further back in the field, looking at J.D. Drennan here, hasn't improved either. Kaminsky's only going to be 7th at best. That's if anybody doesn't improve. But, again, for a lot of drivers, this is, you know, kind of a tell sign later on today for if you want to talk about racing action. They're going to be fast the first 3 laps, put them in, and then don't waste that tire any more than you need to, which has been one of the biggest talking points as well here this week, and we'll touch upon that later on in the day once we get to the end of the qualifying heats. But with a checkered flag flying this time by, Calderon doesn't improve, Stamps nothing either. The only driver, Jack Babiak, up to 11th
at the death
on the final lap. Another one of the Formula Works GFCs improves at the cutoff, a 1:14.576. And Oliver Calvo entered, not running, it looks like, in this qualifying session. That being said, though, how about a rookie? Top of the timing charts, getting ready to lead the senior field to the green flag later on today. Calderon is on the pole.
Whole Axis Kart Sport camp fired up, and they should be. You won in Sonoma last week. You lead the senior field to green here. Talk to me about that qualifying session.
To be honest, I didn't think it was going to go good at the start. I didn't think the lap was good. I put together an okay lap, but I got the draft off of 2 people, and it worked out.
We've talked so much about this senior group being a doghouse, right? Being in the right place at the right time. To start out in front for heat number 1, that's got to be a little bit of stress off your mind.
Yeah, it's stressful, but I think I'll be able to do it, and I've led multiple fields, so it's just another thing in practice.
Well, there you go, guys. Mateo Calderon, first pole position here for Axis Kart Sport.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sir Jackson. And again, very good mentality to it there, Dean, as we wrap up that interview. Just another race. Just another, pole position, leading myself to the green. The same thing that I've done in junior, same thing that I'm getting ready to do. Big win for him last weekend in Sonoma, like Jackson mentioned. That's a great boost of confidence heading into this weekend, continuing that string of good results on what this could mean to get one here at in Las Vegas to try and get himself back on the top step of the podium here.
Good head on the shoulders of our provisional senior pole sitter as we get the Pro Series and the KA100 Heritage and X30 Pro queued up for you guys here. Still only about 3 minutes away, but very, very calm, very poised, and very surprised to see that from a driver that young. Once again, good head on the shoulders, and look forward to seeing what he can do in the race.
And again, if you are feeling a little bit tired, don't forget to use Kart Chaser, code Kart Chaser at www.perico.energy to get yourself 20% off on all orders. And as well, we are in Las Vegas, the home of our very own shopakr.com. Scan the QR code and get yourself a Micron 6 today. As well as a lot of different codes. Talked about yesterday. You can order yourself some MXCs, what was used for the tire changing challenge, where Nick, the owner and operator of Team Kartnik, was able to get the win over everybody else, and he was exhausted at the end of it, but he was able to get it done. Don't forget, scan the QR code, get yourself a Micron 6 today at shopakr.com. But coming up next, couple of moments, Sergey Karamsely and more getting ready to go green for Pro qualifying, as well as Heritage. 3 drivers entered this weekend getting ready to put in a lap. Last qualifying session of the day before we get into racing action. Don't forget, for those of you at home watching along, If you want to watch the racing action, starting with qualifying heat race number 1, for those of you here on the West Coast, they'll go green at 11:20 local time. And again, you won't want to miss any of the action, but it is exclusive to Kart Chaser Premium members, only $9.99 a month, and you can watch all the racing action live from coast to coast. We're here in the West Coast, if you will, in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are over in India, or I should say Newcastle, Indiana, for the Stars Championship Series. Round number 2, the King of the Castle going green over there with our very own Justin Prince, Nate Dean, and Kyle Cuthbertson, and our entire crew out there doing a phenomenal job to bring you guys all the racing action so far this weekend. And as well here, very, very star-studded crew that we have here joining us for this 5th round of the Champions of the Future America Series. That being said, though, this session getting ready to get underway. And Sergey Karamsely, you talk about the last couple rounds, he has been on a roll. Round number 5, uncontested for the majority of it, but it was all said and done there. It looked like that one was fought all the way to the end. Aiden Aquino was actually the one that ran away by 2 seconds at the start, but blew up due to a leaking radiator after halfway, and that unfortunately gave the win to Sergey Karamsely. Unfortunately for Aiden Aquino, and fortunately for Sergey Karamsely getting the win there, and Joshua Daly dominant in the Heritage Division. He's not joining us here this weekend, but again, his competitors are. So that being said, this one is one to keep an eye on here. Karamsely, Caden O'Connor, Marcus Roche, as well as Tanner Cordon, the 4 drivers in the Pro Division. And in Heritage, we have Tony Gomez, Andre Isaac, and Roman Theoven, the 3 drivers joining us in Heritage.
Interesting to see the strategy from Karamsely. I think a lot of the drivers in KA Senior really went out and pushed hard. They got the track position and they went for it. And I think Karamsely's taking his time, a very slow outlap, making sure that to bring these pressing tires up into a nice window as the choo-choo train has formed behind the driver. That absolutely put B to A, I believe, is the phrase that really took it to everybody in warm-up.
Now we continue this one forward, and again, you have a car length in between Caden O'Connor there, as well as Sergey Karamsely, the drivers that are leading this field at the moment. And then again, Marcus Roche and Tanner Cordon just looking for a little bit more here. Looks like Karamsely, good bit of pace at hand here. He's, again, fastest overall. But for Caden O'Connor, putting himself right there in the mix. And this weekend, a little bit different for these pro drivers. Double points for them here this weekend, Dean.
Very, very tasty double points. You know, if you like it once, it's better twice, as these 4 drivers will go ahead and complete their first flying laps. I believe this should be a comfortable 13, maybe even a 12 from Karamsely. A 12.4, a striking lap there from the 604. Although I will say credit to Caden O'Connor for keeping that close. As I say that, Connor goes for a bit of an off-track excursion. There are some very big rocks I found out here last year. If you dare to get yourself close to the dirt, as we've reached the halfway point here in this session.
Did you spend some time off track here a couple of years ago?
Not so much me, but the drivers in front of me kicking up some big rocks, and I've got some nice big holes in the front of my helmet from some of the larger objects off track. But still a phenomenal facility here. But it is the desert after all. There's going to be some rocks.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, we know how expensive paint jobs are nowadays, right? To get those lids looking as pretty as they are. With that being said, look. This session, 2.5 minutes to go, and I'm really not sure. It's going to be a big ask for any of these drivers to see if they can improve. And look, speaking a little bit with Jake Drew today, you know, the qualifying sessions, you can get a lot out of them, but you can also take a little bit too much out of the tires, which is one of the biggest things to note here. Yes, while you do want to go faster than everybody else, look, there's only 4 guys in your class. Don't waste up your equipment. Don't, overuse it in a 6-minute qualifying session when you realistically only need 3 laps. And if this is anything like we've seen earlier on, you're probably, it's a big ask if you're going to improve, as the 520 there slowing Thielen there. He was fast as Tony Gomez passed him up. Passed him on the racetrack as well. He had his hands in the air. I'm not sure if that's some sort of issue. Billowing for the 520 of Thielen, but something to keep an eye on here as we were just looking back with our heritage drivers and slowing for Roman.
Surprising to see all the mechanics that we talked to yesterday saying that you've got about 2 to 3 laps to get that big lap in, and then the tires kind of fall off and plateau. So I agree. For KA Senior, I was surprised to see as many drivers stay out that deep into the session and really put a lot of laps, especially when it is very hot. I mean, the temperatures right now, according to the Almighty Weather app, currently 74 degrees here in Pahrump, but 83 by the end of today, and then almost 90 for tomorrow. So. And you got to think, these drivers, this is a very physical racetrack. Do you want to use up your body? It's not just can you hit every corner right. It's can you save the tires, and can you make sure that your body can make it through the rest of this weekend.
Yeah, well, look, it's all about seat time, right? Putting yourself in the seat, putting yourself within, places to get fit, to get kart fit, really. And that being said, Tony Gomez, Andre Isaac, gonna bring it into the pits. And there's Steven. It looked like he was just kind of nursing it home. He's going to work his way in. As we look on with Keegan Kaminsky. Not Keegan Kaminsky, my apologies. Sergey Karamsely there. He's still working his way around this racetrack.
Something to keep of note as well, the fall off is really going to be the main thing, keeping pace over the weekend. But a 12.7 for Sergey Karamsely, I believe, on his 4th lap, whilst the others have fallen into either the low 13s or even the 14s. So not only just 1 lap pace for the 604 of Karamsely as the session has come to a finish, as he's going to go ahead and put it in the barn for now. Very, very impressive, to say the least, from the American driver.
Well, here's how they stand. Sergey Karamsely, fastest of them all. Caden O'Connor to Tanner Cordon, Marcus Roche, Tony Gomez. Roman Thielen is going to be second in the Heritage Division. So pole position for Tony Gomez and a pole position for Sergey Karamsely. And a look down with the tires here, which is going to be one of the biggest talking points here, and specifically, more than anything, just about right here. That left side of the tire is one of the biggest things that we're keeping an eye on here specifically, right? That's where you will see a lot of wear, and even more so as well, right there, just on that side of the tire as well, is one of the biggest parts that I think we're going to see various amounts of tire, but just you see it just right on the tire there, right?
Maybe
those are some of the things that we're going to be keeping an eye on, Dean. Go ahead.
Maybe a little bit of graining on the outside there for your pole sitter and Karamsely, but otherwise that tire looks absolutely pristine. And also, notice these single bolt hubs on the rear axle. These teams trying to keep the grip out of the rear of these karts, and it's only going to keep getting hotter and stickier as the day goes on.
Yep, well, there you go. Quick pause in the action. I'm sure we'll speak to Sergey here in a couple of moments, as Jackson Lambros will try and wrangle him up. But that being said, qualifying heats, all that's left to get into. That's it for open laps, if you will. We're getting straight into racing action later on today. 11:20 is when the minis go green, and that is for Casey Premium members only, $9.99 a month. Subscribe, become a member today, and we'll see you on the other side. But I'm sure wait here for a couple of moments.
Sergey Karamsely and his dad making the trek out from Newport Beach a couple weeks ago here to try and feel the track out. The hard work has paid off, my friend. Pole position. Talk to me about that session.
That session was, it was really short because first lap, obviously, warming up the tires. Second lap was the best lap, and then after that, I was just kept on getting slower and slower. And so after only 4 laps, I pulled in. But yeah, that only fast lap that I got felt incredible. Yeah, all the setup, all the work that we did in previous weekends paid off.
Smaller grid here that's made the trip out to Nevada, but a very strong group. I've got the feeling that there's not too much relief right now when you guys walk back to the Maxwell tent.
Yeah, obviously this is just qualifying. Even though I got the fastest lap, it doesn't mean anything because we have the races up next with the heats, the super heats, and the finals. So that's where it matters the most. And qualifying, we did good, but the focus is on the races.
We appreciate the times. Thanks, Sergey.
All right, thank you.
Third pole position of the season so far for Karamseli, Caleb.
Yeah, very good end to that qualifying session for Sergey. And look, he said it right. All focus ahead, full steam ahead into the qualifying heat, Steen. But that being said, we are straight into racing action. 11:20, stick around. We'll see you here in just about 23 minutes time. And don't forget, subscribe, become a member today, only $9.99 a month. Dean, closing thoughts here on the morning of action.
Choo-choo. It's going to be a lot of train racing today. I think these drivers are going to have to think strategically. It's going to be more so about where you find yourself in the final 2 laps. Where can you position yourself to give yourself the best opportunity to take away double points for all categories on offer. We've got that confirmed. So a big prize on the line here for these drivers.
And here we go. The countdown of green is on. We'll see you guys on the other side. You're watching Kart Chasers live action of the Champions of the Future America Series.